Welcome. Hi, I'm Mari Ryan. Thanks for joining us today on this Well-Being Expert Series, part of our ongoing interviews with well-being experts to be able to bring you some fabulous resources and information to help you with your well-being program in your workplace. My guest today is Tara Healey. Tara is the Program Director for Mindfulness-Based Learning at Harvard Pilgrim Health Care. In addition to holding a master's degree in health education and having over 20 years experience in organizational development, Tara is a long-time practitioner of mindfulness meditation and is an advocate for the proven health benefits of meditation. She's been doing this for years. She was the original architect of Harvard Pilgrim's innovative program that they've been doing for decades now, it seems, adopting the principles of mindful meditation to a corporate environment. So Tara, welcome. We're so delighted to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Great. Well, it's so interesting that Harvard Pilgrim and you in your role there were in an organizational development role, I believe. Was that correct?
Yes.
You really pioneered this whole concept of mindfulness and mindfulness meditation in the workplace. And of late, recently we've had a lot of interest by corporations in the concepts of mindfulness. And I'm curious, so why now? What's motivating organizations to want to bring mindfulness skills to their workforce and to their organizations?
Sure. So I think there's a few things, Mari. The thing that really jumps out at me, why now, is that the science is starting to legitimize this practice. And you have people that are highly credible that are researching the impact of mindfulness on the body and on the brain. And, I think that in many ways, mindfulness or meditation, there's lots of misconceptions associated with it from past history, from the 60s, with, ideas of what it is that usually are not, most of the time, they're what I always say are misconceptions. But the science is really coming online in a way that I don't think any of us could have imagined, especially those of us that have been involved with bringing mindfulness into the workplace for a number of years. We didn't really have that legitimacy. And yet it also took off in a really interesting way. And, I'm happy to talk a little bit about kind of how and why we started back in 2004. Because it wasn't popular back then. It wasn't culturally popular. And so it's really, that has changed quite a bit. In fact, I think there are something like 4,000 peer-reviewed studies now, but in the 80s, we had like next to nothing, less than 10 or something like that. So since 2004, there's really been an explosion of research and money going toward research on the impact.
That's fabulous. Well, it's great to have the science backing on this. So tell us, what is the science saying? And, what from your experience, having done this so early on and been early adopters of this at Harvard Pilgrim, what's the science saying and why is this so valuable to organizations and to their employees?
Yeah. So one of the things that this practice offers people is a different way to relate to those things that create difficulty or strife in their life. It's not about stopping the things that happen, but it's about learning to respond differently to those things that happen and to begin to understand patterns and habits of mind and thought and how powerful they are, both in terms of leading us astray and, leading us places that, well, in some of the simplest ways, if you're provoked by somebody at work and you lash out at them, there's usually a bit of regret and often not a good outcome and makes working with others really challenging. But if we start to see provocation from another person or even work overload and how we're processing that, and we are able to kind of bring some sense of balance. And it's not about being passive and just taking whatever comes, but really learning how to skillfully manage the things that are entering our lives that are causing us some difficulty. How to have a conversation with a peer or a boss if there's things happening at work that put you on overload that need to be addressed, so that conversation is going in a direction that is positive because it's informed. Your speech and your action is informed by this practice of being awake and aware and alert to what's going on within and around you.
So it sounds like it really helps us be able to respond to situations in a professional and appropriate manner instead of just reacting in those situations.
It does. And there's a phrase that's often used, mindfulness, the more we practice, the more it increases the gap between impulse and action.
So does the science and the research focus just on the benefits to the individual, or do they actually talk about the benefits to the organization?
Well, both, in fact. So I have good friends, Chris Liddy and Darren Good, who did a really big project looking at a number of organizations that have been doing mindfulness and kind of cross-referencing what are some of the things that all of these organizations are seeing. And it is things like, just decrease stress, increase in one's attentional capacity, increase in compassion. And these are things that are just invaluable at work.
Right. Well, it sounds like there are a lot of benefits that an organization would reap over time. Certainly happier, healthier, better well-being for their workforce is going to lead to increased productivity, better decision-making, better collegial interactions. So certainly can see lots and lots of benefits from that. That's perfect.
So people can find us by going to harvardpilgrim.org/mindfulness. And on that site, we have some guided meditations that are short. We've got a 3-minute breath meditation, a 10-minute guided body scan and breath meditation, and a 20-minute guided body scan and meditation.
Those are great resources. And as I said, I've got those downloaded and on my phone for any time I want to be able to use them. So thank you for that information and those additional resources. This has been really helpful to have a perspective, and from your obvious knowledge and experience and years of leading this in corporate settings, as well as at Harvard Pilgrim Health Care. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here today and for sharing this important information with us. Thanks, Tara.
My pleasure.